Lobotomies no longer looked upon positively now. We don't do so many lobotomies. But there obviously are things that are fairly close to lobotomies. There are obviously behavioral control drugs. I mean, we're getting into another area now. Most people would distinguish between substance abuse and mental illnesses, but there are some parallels. And it is remarkable that in many cases, therapeutic drugs that we think are so super, people don't like to take. Most people, if you have a drug that makes them better, if you have a drug that makes them stop coughing or lowers their blood pressure or does something positive for them, they're pretty willing to take it. But in many cases, we really have to force psychiatric drugs on people because they're not that interested in taking them on their own. So we had to develop a whole technology to say, well, these are diseases marked by denial and people aren't in a position to make judgments on their own. And sometimes you have to ask yourself, well, says who? Who made that decision? And you can go to court, and the law is if you're not a danger to yourself or somebody else, they should not be able to force you to take a psychiatric drug. That's the law. I mean, it's violated every day, but if you're in a position to try and defend yourself, you can defend it on that basis.
Have you run into anybody who's been forced to take antabuse?
Well, antabuse, gee, that's really tough to force people to take because you got to take it daily. But there are programs that make you do it, but you have to have pretty total control of a person's life to make them take antabuse. Because you got to be there every morning when they take it. It's tough row to hoe.
A situation I'm aware of where a physician was ticketed for smoking marijuana at a concert. That led to several months of inpatient therapy for marijuana addiction, during which time he acknowledged drinking micro brews. And so when he came out of his treatment program, he was forced to take antabuse, witnessed antabuse for a year, which caused some side effects and made him distressed.
Well, yes, I do know people have been sentenced to take antabuse, but people are sentenced to abstinence all the time, where they do, urine tests and they make sure they're not drinking, and they may not have had an addiction in the first place, or they might have had a problem with a totally other drug in the first place. I know of a case in Arizona where a guy was sentenced to, he had marijuana, he got in the court system, they wanted him to go to a treatment program, he never went, but he did quit marijuana. He actually stopped using the drug. He moved to another state to get a good job, but he was picked up on a probation violation and sent back to his original state to fulfill his treatment obligation. Even though he now no longer actually took the drug, he was abstaining. He was doing what they wanted. But so that's worse. The failure to undergo treatment in and of itself can be a violation, even after you've gotten over the drug or alcohol problem. So that's, to me, even scarier than the drug thing.